now, and a few people on the waiting list. We just transitioned a new Camp Hope coordinator. And so right now, as we bring her up to speed on all the inner workings of Camp Hope, we're trying to keep it capped somewhere between 40 and 45 for right now. We have Camp Hope is a program of the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. We started it in 2011 because we realized that we had a lot of people sleeping outside that were not adequately served by the services that were currently being offered in town in terms of shelter. We found that having an outdoor encampment where people had their own safe place, where they had access to a lot of services, they could get food, healthcare, sign up for housing, all of those things right next to each other, has been really helpful for having the camp. So we decided to add it to the Community of Hope as one of our programs. So what we have been doing over the last 5 weeks, we have 1 week left of the campaign, is to try to earn enough money to continue operating Camp Hope. It doesn't come with any federal, state, or local funding. We really rely on the donations of our generous community, and we came up with Tents to Rents, really trying to illuminate that we have people living in tents, and that our goal is to move them from living in a tent to paying a rent, living in their own apartment. But we need everybody's help to be able to do that. Without Camp Hope, if Community of Hope decided, well, we financially can't do this, or capacity wise, operationally, we would have the autonomy to go ahead and stop operating Camp Hope. But we have really found that it has been a huge benefit, not only to our community at large, but to all of the people, 40 to 45 people who are sleeping at Camp Hope at any given time. Last year, we sheltered 277 people. The year before that, we sheltered 254 people. So you can see that there was a huge increase of the number of people we served. One of the reasons, I think, is because from last year's Tents to Rents campaign, we used that money to pay security deposits for every single person moving into the Desert Hope apartments. So that was 40 people that we were able to transition out of Camp Hope into their own apartment. And that opened up slots for 40 more people to come right in. So we were able to serve a lot more people last year. In general, overall, at the Community of Hope, we served 4,714 people, which was a drastic increase in the number of people we are serving. I'm going to go ahead and anticipate some of your questions about why we have so many people who are sleeping outside and experiencing homelessness. And right now, most of the information that we receive about why we're having such a huge increase, a lot of that is attributed to COVID, the pandemic. We saw a lot of things happen during that time. One was that a lot of other shelters shut down, flushing people to the forefront. Parks shut down, businesses shut down, where people who were experiencing homelessness were then again becoming very, very visible. We also had many of our apartment complex who we would consider as affordable housing were then also raising the rental prices. And so we have been just seeing a huge increase of people priced out of the units that they were staying in. And that's just led to a lot more people sleeping on the streets. So again, Camp Hope, it's a program of the Community of Hope. A lot of times people think that Camp Hope is Community of Hope, but Community of Hope has a lot of other programs. We are also a day shelter, so people can also just come in, take showers, get laundry, get case management. They can sign up for housing. We have a lot of different types of housing programs. We housed over 700 people last year, including 158 children. So when we started Camp Hope, it was in the end of 2011. It was supposed to be a trial period for 3 months, but we really quickly saw the need. We were able to transition people from Camp Hope to their own apartments very, very quickly. We had all of the services, even bathrooms, right next to where people were sleeping. When their number came up for Social Security disability or for a housing opportunity, We were not driving all along the Rio Grande trying to find John for his housing opportunity. They were right in our backyard. It made it really helpful and made their homelessness much more brief. We also found that it contributed to a lot of the safety of the people who are experiencing homelessness. I can't tell you before Camp Hope how many times I had females waiting for me at the back door to tell me about a sexual assault that had happened. And when we implemented Camp Hope, those numbers were reduced in staggering numbers. Here you can see a drone photo of the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope, and you can see that Camp Hope is right behind the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. This drone picture is a little bit older. We have a lot more of those structures around the tent pad sites. We have done some fundraisers to add those structures around there, just to add some added security, just from the elements, and also prolong the life of the tents. I think we have 15 more structures to construct. We've been partnering with Home Depot to construct all of those shelters. And when COVID hit, Home Depot lost the ability to gather their volunteers and all the volunteers it takes to build those 3-sided structures. But there are many more now that are there. Here they are when they were bare and just on these elevated tent pad sites that we built. We have a garden area. Right now, that garden area has actually been cleared out. We have picnic tables under there, and we installed misters because this summer was just excruciatingly hot for people who are outside. So right now what you would see under there is a lot of people trying to stay cool. Once it is starting to cool down, so we anticipate going to restore the garden area. We have an Orno and we have grills for outdoor cooking. We also have outdoor bathrooms now. It took us about 5 years to accomplish that, but we did that through generous donations, partly through Tents to Rents and others just contributing to allow us to build bathrooms with actual toilets and showers. We had porta potties for the first 5 years. Also on the back side of that is the outdoor kitchen. We don't have a refrigerator, but we do have an ice machine, and people are allowed to have coolers. If they have medications that they might be taking, we partner with La Clínica de Familia, who has a med management team, and they will bring them their meds. It's outside of our capacity to have medication storage. That's not really what we are. We are just the shelter piece, and we only shelter adults there. So we don't have any children. We do have housing programs that house whole families. Again, we housed families with a total of 158 children last year. But oftentimes we will refer families out until we are able to transition them into their own apartment. Sometimes when I show this picture, people who aren't from Las Cruces, because I do give a lot of presentations to other communities who want to start similar camps in their community instead of sending people here. But I'm always met with surprise where people say, it snows in Las Cruces. And while it might seem novel and fun for us, not necessarily for those who are sleeping outside. That's why Tents to Rents also assists with tarps, with hot hands and toe warmers, sleeping bags, all the things that we can help provide people to be safe while they're sleeping outside. So how did we come up with the idea of Tents to Rent? So we ran it for several years just based on whenever donations would come in, we would sort of direct it toward toward Camp Hope if we needed it. But I knew that we needed to have something ongoing if we were going to continue to take on the onus of operating a shelter, which we weren't designed to do. Paying for things like not just the actual tarps and tents and solar lights, but also, it comes with liability insurance and things like that. So the more non-glamorous, somebody has to pay for the lights on it at the bathrooms and the hot water that happens at Camp Hope. So we came up with Tents to Rents and coming up with generous partners who would help us to raise money with all of their contacts. So our hope is that, even with the Unitarian Church, being a participant in Tents to Rents, that you all would have opportunities to branch out and reach other people that Community of Hope or myself might not have. So we're really hopeful that that's, being sent out to a lot of people that believe in what we're doing. Again, we really want to make sure that, we have a sustainable way to help support the camp, the operations, but also people when they are moving into their own apartment, being able to do that first month's rent, that security deposit, utility deposit, last month's rent. All of those things add up so much, even if we have someone who does have income. Most of the time, the people that we serve are on very fixed and limited incomes. For example, we have a 77-year-old woman staying at Camp Hope right now. And I'm sure you can imagine that her Social Security income is about now what, price of 1 month of rent might be, let alone being able to afford all of the other amenities or the last month's rent in addition to that. One of the things we think about is where would people be staying? If we were to shut down right now, where would 45 people go? In our community. So again, we realize that we have a responsibility, and it's a very powerful responsibility to serve as many as we can. This is our plea, our pledge to the Unitarian Universalist Church and members to help us keep Camp Hope, help us move people into their own apartments. We do feel like everybody deserves housing, that nobody deserves to live in a tent, but it's better than not having a tent. You can see here, this is a pretty recent screenshot, maybe from last week. So each time $100 comes in to Tents to Rents, it turns from a tent into that little house icon. So right now, the Unitarians have raised $320 for Tents to Rents for us to operate Camp Hope. Trinity Lutheran's a little on you guys right now. St. Andrews has brought in a bit more. And there are other participants as well, not just these three that I'm showing here. It's just a snapshot. Our goal this year was to try to get to 100,000. We are at 81,000 right now, I think, which is tremendous. The operations of the camp do not cost that much money, but what does, again, is as we transition as many people out and serve them with as much housing as we can, trying to make sure that their homelessness is non-recurring. So if you are going to go on, there are a few ways you can make your donation. You could come into Community of Hope and drop off cash, a check, and you just on the envelope would write Unitarian, and then I would manually go in to the Tents to Rents website and give the Unitarian Universalist Church the credit for what came in. You could also mail in a check, or you can go to the actual website and I'll just go back to that last one real quick. So if you click on the Unitarian Universalist Church, it will take you to the bio for that church, or the organization. And then down in that right-hand corner, you click donate right there. And so this is a screenshot from the Community of Hope's participation page, but it would say Unitarian across the top there and a little bit about the Unitarian Church. And then you click donate, and then you can donate with a credit card right there. So you don't have to mail anything in, or you don't have to come into the Community of Hope if you prefer to do it online. Again, I just want to express how grateful we are for the support in the past. And this is not the first year that Unitarians have contributed and been a participant in the Tents to Rents campaign. We know that we'd have a really hard time if we didn't have the buy-in from our community, and especially, from a lot of our faith leaders. We know that while we ended homelessness for 701 people last year, we still had 4,000 other peoples that we are trying to house and end homelessness for. I'll go ahead and, these aren't slides on here, but tell you a little bit about some of the things that are in the future for the Community of Hope in general. We got the City of Las Cruces to buy a couple more plots of land on the Community of Hope campus, and they've wrapped that into our 10-year master plan. So we have been rebuilding, renovating the Horse and Hound building. It will now be the new Casa de Peregrinos food pantry building when it's complete. So Casa de Peregrinos will move out of the Community of Hope building, and then Community of Hope staff will expand. And then on the lot that was to the left, there used to be a landscaping agency, and the community, the city of Las Cruces bought that with the intent of affordable housing. So we are right now working with a developer to build hopefully somewhere between 60 to 80 one-bedroom apartments right there on the Community of Hope campus, which we hope will capture a lot of people who are sleeping outside, and we will provide services, both Casa de Peregrinos Food Pantry, Amador Healthcare Clinic, and then Community of Hope staff, case managers will be providing a lot of the on-site services there. Something else on the horizon to help us end homelessness in our community is that for the first time ever, you are going to see affordable housing as part of the general obligation bond on the ballot this year. In the past, it's been for things like pickleball, for parks and rec, all the streets, infrastructure, and all those things are very important. But we're also really excited to see that the city believes that affordable housing is also very important. It's hard to enjoy pickleball. It's hard to care about what streets look like if you're living outside or you're seeing people living outside. And so at this time, if we can get people to vote for that, it's not an increase in taxes. It's taxes that already exist, and it will go toward a pot of money that then developers or other people who are trying to leverage affordable housing initiatives in our community can tap into, so that we can have even more opportunities to end homelessness for people. I'd now like to just show you a few of the examples of people who were helped from the generous contributions of Tents to Rents. This was Melody. She was our camp manager for quite some time. She's moved into her own apartment. This was maybe 2 years ago. I haven't seen Melody in a long time, which to me is a success story. If we're not seeing it, it means that it's working. This is Ami. She also moved out of Camp Hope. She served on the Community of Hope Board of Directors after she was housed for about 1.5 years. Mario, again, moved Mario into his own apartment. He and his 2 dogs. A lot of our people who are sleeping outside have pets. That's prevents them from going to a lot of the indoor shelters, whereas Camp Hope allows people to have pets. We do not allow people to adopt pets while they're staying at Camp Hope because we want them to take care of themselves first. We don't want to add that additional pet deposit. But if they come into Camp Hope with an animal, we will allow them, a reasonable animal, we will allow them to come in with that companion pet. And this is Lavelle. I know this one's a little longer. This was one of the messages that our committee sent out for Tents to Rents to kind of talk about Lavelle. Lavelle was at the camp for quite some time and moved into the Desert Hope Apartments, which was an initiative between the Community of Hope and the Public Housing Authority. We built apartments for 40 people who have been chronically homeless. And we ended homelessness for 40 people within 2 months, and Lavelle was one of them. He said he felt a new contentment for the first time in many years and hoped to remain at Desert Hope forever. And sadly, he passed away within about 1 year of being at Desert Hope of physical ailments, but he did not die homeless. He died with dignity. He died at Desert Hope and was able to be there in his case for his forever. And here are just a few more pictures of the Desert Hope Apartments. And again, we hope to add several more on the Community of Hope campus. And with that, I will hold for any questions that you have for me.
Thank you, Nicole. And if we have people option into the gallery mode so that we can see each other, if you have a question or a comment, please raise your hand and I will be the designated cat herder for the next half hour or so. Yes, Jack.
Thank you, Nicole, for the interesting and informative presentation. I learned something, even though I've been around a long time. I thought that the Community of Hope and Camp Hope were the same, and my wife and I make annual donations to the Community of Hope, thinking it was going to the people who are living in tents. But that's really not the case, or at least not always the case. Is that correct?
That's correct. what would happen if somebody's making a general contribution, it goes into sort of a pot that's a general contribution for the Community of Hope. Now, if we didn't have enough money from a Tents to Rents campaign for Camp Hope, then I would use a general contribution, and I would assume that whoever was donating to the Community of Hope, if it seemed very general, that you would allow that we would know the best use of where we would need that funding to go. So it might be towards something for Camp Hope. It might be that we really needed to fund something for our veterans program. We help operate a whole 22 unit complex. It's just formerly homeless veterans. Or it might be that our entire day shelter program for people who might not be staying at Camp Hope, but who do access services and are homeless, we don't have enough sleeping bags to hand out at wintertime for the general homeless population. We would use your donation for something like that. We undergo an annual outside audit every year. Right now, we are finishing up our annual audit, but from our audits, and they're accessible to the general public at any time, you can see the benchmark of nonprofits nationwide should be that about 80 cents of every dollar is spent directly toward programming for people, directly to your clients. You should have very low overhead, very low admin. Ours is always between 90 and 95 cents to every dollar of your donations that come in that our auditors find going straight to clients. So we are way above those benchmarks, and you can rest assured that if you're giving a general donation, thank you, it will go where we feel like it's needed most. But if you tell me specifically, I want this, say on the memo line, I want this to go to Camp Hope, I want this to go to general population, I want this to go to veteran, you can decide where you want that to go. Tends to rent stuff,
but it all goes to the program that you have, that you administer. Is that correct?
Yes.
So really, it does go to program.
Yes.
In contrast to the health center or the food bank, it goes to your program.
Absolutely. The other agencies are separate agencies. We do not share, any funding sources whatsoever. They're completely separate. So if a check came to just the Community of Hope, it would come to our agency and serve anywhere from tent, anybody living in a tent to being outside.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions or comments? Dave Rice.
Oh. Yeah, well, thank you, Nicole. That's very informative, and not surprised to hear some of that, but it is good to hear the numbers clearly. That's very helpful. Now, first thing, our number there, for those of you who are wondering where the money went that you donated for Tents to Rent at the church, for example, Nicole, we sort of have a bypass. We have a line within our website at the church that is Tents to Rent, and at the end of September, they'll give us a grand total, but it'll be closer to our, we're at 1,500 plus right now at the church. So
Awesome.
So rest assured, I think we'll match last year's donation. Thanks to some of the folks here, but also there are other generous members. So this is helpful, and I think your communication here is helpful. I did have one specific question. Sometimes a member sees somebody, like there's a couple that apparently a couple females that live on the street. They have mental illness apparently, and they're reluctant to go anywhere. Does the Community of Hope or Tents to Rent have any outreach where somebody says, well, there's somebody on Elm Street over here, they need help, or do they have to make their way or be brought to you by like the social worker or police?
Great question, Dave. The Community of Hope does have an outreach team. So we have people that call us all the time. A lot of times it will be business owners. But we do have some churches too that will call and say, hey, this person just wandered into our church. We tried to feed them or help them, but yeah, there might be mental health issues. Can you send someone? Unfortunately, our staff is Monday through Friday. We don't have the capacity yet to have after hours, but there is the crisis triage center where if you see someone who is homeless, homelessness is traumatic. So it doesn't be that somebody has to be, having a severe, crisis or something that's very visible, could ask someone if they wanted to go somewhere, the crisis center, they could go there on the weekend or after hours if needed. But during Monday through Friday, or even if it's just the weekend, you could email us, you could call us on Monday and, hey, over the weekend, I saw this person, they were there the whole time. You might send somebody on Monday, and we will do that. We deploy them. They're out in the field 75% of every day, doing just that. Chances are they know who you are talking about. And we have lots of different tactics, and a lot of times it takes a long time. So like we're in a stage where, let's say, we go to the women, it's likely that right now we're just going and taking lunch each day until we establish some rapport, until they get used to it. And it kind of seems like they can start to trust the person. Then it might be like, hey, do you want to come to Camp Hope? Or, hey, do you want to come take a shower? Do you want to sign up for the Mano Day Labor program that the Community of Hope runs? We have all different types of programming and ways to help people. Do you want to just come do a load of laundry? We can help you with that. So it sort of goes in those increments. Now, a lot of people we serve say, I wanted an apartment yesterday. But we do also have quite a few people who just have either been too afraid to come to Camp Hope because of mental health issues and crowd issues, or maybe they tried Camp Hope and it didn't work and they do better living by themselves in their own apartment. I know I would do better that way. We try to figure that out with each person that we're serving.
So with that in mind, Nicole, is there a specific office or person that we could refer a member that has that concern? With Community of Hope, that so if they, in other words, anyway.
Absolutely. You could just call we have a main line, Community of Hope line. If you Google it, Mesilla Valley Community of Hope would come up pretty immediately. You can call that number and say, can I talk to somebody in the outreach team? Or if you even just called and said like, hey, I saw a couple of people over on Valley, or they're up on Telshore by Target, then my front desk staff will say, let me transfer you to outreach. Like they should know what to do. If they don't, let me know, but they should know how to direct that call and make sure we address it. Also, another thing is we just added, a third team of Mano, which is a hotspot truck. So if you do happen to pass along a homeless encampment, and it seems like there's a lot of trash, there's probably no pickup or trash cans there, our Mano hotspot truck will go clean up that area and also do outreach to the people staying at that encampment. We'll not only go out there with just water and hand out trash bags, but we'll also just say like, hey, do you want to sign up for housing right here? You don't even have to come to the Community of Hope. Outreach will come do that intake with them right there.
Great.
Okay, well.
Yes, Susan, and it's nice to see you, Susan.
Nice to see you. I'm just wondering, a lot of shelters do not allow people who have substance abuse issues. Is that also in your case? What happens with people who you are aware that they're actively using?
Great question. It's one of those questions where we feel like we know our audience, we know who we are intended to serve. And oftentimes that's people who do have substance use issues. So, and a lot of times those substance use issues have to do with the trauma of homelessness. They have to do with mental health issues. We do have rules around being at Camp Hope. You cannot use on the property. However, if you are off the property, you are your own person and you are an adult. And I wouldn't say that we don't care what you're doing. We absolutely care about how you're treating yourself and your body and your mind. But we will allow you to come into Camp Hope because we'd rather have somebody, be safe in their tent than causing a disturbance perhaps downtown. So if somebody comes back under the influence and they're not causing any problem, you bet I'd rather have them pass out, in that tent than behind a dumpster in a business doorway. So that then the caseworker can come out the next day or even later that afternoon and just say, hey, let's talk about why that happened, what's going on right now that caused you to use in that way. And then we also have a really good partnership with Abode Health Center, who has a substance use program right there on site at the Community of Hope campus. We don't require them to receive services for that, but they are available and they're encouraged, and it's a very warm handoff. So it's called a harm reduction model. We realize that people are going to use, whether you're housed or not, people use licit and illicit drugs, and our responsibility is to reduce the harm to people and to our community when they are using. And we feel like Camp Hope is a form of harm reduction because it reduces harm to somebody who might be using. They're not using out in the general community. They're in a safe place.
Mhm. Thank you. That's really excellent. I think your model is wonderful. That's really good.
Thank you.
Yes, VJ.
Nicole, you mentioned that people from Camp Hope go to single bedroom apartments. Where are most of the apartments? Are they distributed during this along in the city, or are they at one place, or where are they?
They are distributed throughout the community. It's a best practice model to allow for client preference.
Mhm.
So, while Community of Hope knows we have certain landlords that we partner with, makes it really helpful to streamline that housing effort. But if somebody did say, hey, I found an apartment in Sonoma Ranch that met the fair market rent, we'd say like, you're really far from the soup kitchen. You're really far from, people you might know. But again, if that is what somebody wants to do, we believe that we are all our own experts about ourselves and our own wants and our desires, right? And we honor that. So while we do give our own input, and so far I haven't had anybody really say they want it to be at Sonoma Ranch, most of the places are distributed throughout the entire community. So we have people at Desert Hope, which is right in the middle of Las Cruces. We have a lot of people in some of the, quite frankly, poorer parts of town, like Picacho. And a lot of that's because that's, rents that we can actually afford, or landlords that will actually accept a housing voucher. A lot of landlords will not accept that, or their apartments are just too expensive in other parts of the community. But we really, believe that it's better for communities to have, people spread out throughout instead of creating huge pockets of poverty. It's akin to redlining, if you're familiar with that, and so it's something that we really want to honor that client preference, and then make sure that we are being fair to the entire community.
Okay, another question. If they do go to Sonoma Ranch and we provide them with an apartment, how about the transportation then? Does Community of Hope or Tents for Rent or any of the programs provide them with the transportation or no?
Yeah, and that's another thing that we go over with the client. So we do, like a whole housing plan, and we ask the things that are important to them. Do you want to be on a bus line? Do you have your own vehicle, or are you on a bicycle? Do you need to be near a grocery store? Which grocery store do you like? Which one accepts most of your food stamp? So we really do try to make sure that we're incorporating that, because they might not be thinking about that. They've been homeless for a long time, and that might not be a consideration. But if we did have somebody who's like, yep, I really want to be out in Sonoma Ranch, that's where I used to live 10 years ago. And I don't know if it was still there, but yeah. Then we would ask them about the bus line, and we do have some bus vouchers, but mainly what we would probably do is work with somebody on a more sustainable thing. Like, okay, you have been homeless a long time, and you have a permanent disability. We're going to help you apply for Social Security disability benefits, or you're able to do some supplemental day labor. Let me give you a voucher for Mano, because with this voucher, and you go do day labor one day, you get $55. You can go buy a bus pass for a month. So we really try to streamline those efforts to make sure that people have all of those amenities that they need, especially if it's going to help keep them stably housed.
Well, one time we were walking and close to Ramada Inn, and we saw a lot of people, a lot of tents over there, right?
Oh,
Oh.
that's over on Bex, yeah.
On Bex. On Bex, I mean, and but there were a lot of tents over there. I mean, how is that possible that in residential area, there were a lot of tents and we don't know who the people were, and there was trash around there too?
Yeah, we again will get called about that. And so that's when we send out the outreach team. I don't think that you've probably seen them lately, or they would have left and then gone somewhere else. It's one of those things that's sort of a cat and mouse, you know, it's just moving the issue.
Okay,
So
okay,
really what we're interested in is building more housing, providing more housing so that we're
Right.
not just moving the tents along, we're moving people into apartments.
right.
But we were aware of that, and our Mano a Mano program just went out and around a lot of that area, and like La Quinta, around the McDonald's and the Arroyos in there.
Wow.
So we've got, you know, a pulse on a lot of the encampments that are out there.
Good.
Okay,
Yeah, leads me to a question I wanted to ask Nicole, and I agree with everyone. Your presentation is wonderful, and the program just that you're describing just seemed really outstanding. So you're to be congratulated. And the community's lucky to have folks like you doing this important work. But I was just wondering, on any given night, do we have an idea as to how many homeless people are out on the streets in our city area or our county who are not being served by programs like yours?
Sure. It's a moving target. It's tough to figure that out, but we do a point in time count every January. And so for a week, our staff is not only counting every person who's at Camp Hope or who might be sleeping around our area or at the mission. We also go out for that whole week of January and say, where were you on this night? You know, where were you on January 21st? So we're counting as many people under bridges, behind buildings, along the freeway, wherever we can find people, and we're counting as many as we can. Last year, our number was 157. We think 200 is a better guesstimate of how many people might be sleeping outside every night.
And as a related question, what's the average stay at Camp Hope for people who do avail themselves of that service? And
Yeah.
follow up to that would be, do you get people return clients? You know, people who go away for a while and then come back?
Yeah, we've had that. Most of the time we're transitioning people and then they're not coming back to seek services, but we have had a few. Give me one moment. My 7-year-old is coming to say goodbye to me. Love you, babe. Have a safe drive. See you soon. So sorry about that.
No problem.
So the average stay though is that it has changed. When we first started Camp Hope, we had a lot more units available in Las Cruces that were affordable. And so the average stay was 3 months. Now, those apartments I was talking about on Picacho during the pandemic, an efficiency bedroom, so one that's like a living room and a bedroom all together, all as one, $750. Our fair market rent is $635. We cannot even place our people in those Picacho units anymore as of 2 months ago. And so people are staying homeless a lot longer. So it's not that people are like, we're just going to kick back and live outside with all these mosquitoes and cats and spiders and other people in crisis. It's that we literally cannot find enough units quickly enough to transition people. So the average stay is now anywhere from 6 months to a year.
Yes, Charlie and then Susan.
Yeah, that raises the question, is there no way to guarantee rents won't go up for a certain period of time to give these people time enough to rearrange their lives?
One of the things that recently has happened, with all of the inflation, it's everywhere. So HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, has realized that they need to increase that fair market rent so we can use vouchers now. And that goes into effect October 1st. So there
Oh.
will be some reprieve, thank goodness, that's starting October 1. And then we can look forward to the next October, hopefully, if we can get as many people housed right now, even if the rents go up later, people should be good because we sign a 1-year lease. So they shouldn't have any increases in that year.
Susan?
Yes, I had two questions. One is, I think last spring, I read about a group of houses on the campus of the university that were empty, a whole series of them. Are you aware of those? They talked about wanting to demolish them, but I thought to myself, my goodness, if some of those could be renovated. I mean, I think they were family housing maybe during World War II or something like that. Are you aware of those buildings?
We surely are. They are, I think, it would be up to a developer to renovate those units. And again, there's just not much incentive for developers to do affordable housing because the return isn't that great unless they had some pocket of money that would help make it more financially viable, like say a GO bond for affordable housing. Because right now to renovate those units, the biggest problem is that they are asbestos laden.
Oh dear.
And that asbestos abatement is an incredibly expensive thing to do. And so developers are like, not only are we not going to afford that, then on top of that, trying to do affordable housing for people experiencing homelessness, they would lose a lot of money on a project like that. So while it might feel good to a community, it's not a viable answer, unfortunately.
Okay. And then the other thing is, I didn't really quite understand what is this Mano to Mano hotspot program. Can you just explain that a little?
Yeah. So in 2018, we learned about this program that was in Albuquerque. So they were taking a lot of people who were experiencing homelessness. They called it There's a Better Way. So they were trying to get people to stop panhandling and go do day labor. So we wanted to mirror something like that. So I talked to Mayor Pro Tem Gandara and said, she really wanted to see a day labor program happen. And she wanted it to be people who are sleeping outside. And it was right at the time that our City of Las Cruces panhandling ordinance was going to be repealed. So we knew we were about to start to see a lot more people flying signs on and we've seen that, haven't we? So we really wanted to provide an alternative, provide a better way than panhandling by doing day labor. So we implemented a program where we would take 10 people who were experiencing homelessness or who were very precariously housed, like say they came in with a shut-off notice for utilities. Then we would take the 10 people, literally chosen by lottery. City of Las Cruces gave us money to hire a supervisor, and our supervisor was also somebody with lived experience, had been homeless, would take the 10 people out. They do 5 hours of labor at city-owned properties. So places like Veterans Park, La Llorona Park, medians, things wherever they, city owned these properties, Desert Springs and Sonoma Ranch. They're cleaning up those areas. They get food from El Caldito. We have water out there and sunscreen, all those things. They come back to the community of hope. They get paid cash, minimum wage, and they get connected to services like, so the supervisor's also saying like, so where'd you sleep last night? Or, hey, tell me the deal with the fentanyl pills. Why are you doing that? What can we, and here's some services. They're getting referred to services. They're getting paid. And then we realized we were turning about 60 people away every morning who wanted to go work for the day. A huge, correction to the myth that homeless people just don't want to work. Many of them have a very difficult time doing full-time work, but day labor, going out there, having the dignity of work, getting paid, getting fed. We were just turning away a ton of people. So I went back to Mayor Pro Tem and was like, we need to double this immediately. So it was like in the first 3 to 6 months. So we doubled it. So then we got another supervisor, also with lived experience. We're driving 2 city vans, taking 20 people and supervisors who have now ended their homelessness and are getting paid a living wage, taking out 20 people on city-owned properties, cleaning up. A lot of the people that you've seen out there in those day glow vests, you might think maybe they're from the prison or something, but chances are they're people experiencing homelessness who are earning money on that particular day. Then I went to the city and I said, listen, we just have so many people that we are still turning away. And we have a lot of encampments around our community now, more than we've ever had, that are unsanctioned. And that one of the nuisances that people report to me often about homelessness is the trash that's left behind. And I said, I understand there's an anti-donation clause. So the city was really hesitant to give us a hotspot truck that would just go to non-city owned and just go clean up those encampments. And I said, this isn't about a business getting a benefit, getting free cleaning. This is about outreach and health and safety. Please give us a truck. We can take another supervisor and we can take 4 people and we can go on any kind of a referral that somebody calls in and says, there's an encampment, there are people. Then the workers will go out and clean up that encampment. They'll leave trash bags behind, and outreach will go meet them out there and say like, hey, let's do a housing intake right now. So that's what that program is.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Nicole, I'm not bilingual, but I think Mano is hand in hand, is it not?
Yeah. It's hand in hand.
I have another comment. I went off screen for a few minutes. My wife and I made a donation to Community of Hope last September. We have not done one this year, but we did not put Unitarian Universalist Church, but we will this year, and we'll get a couple more apartment buildings to replace the tents.
Awesome.
So thanks for letting us know that.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, Vijay, did I see your hand again?
Yeah, you do. Nicole, do you have any idea if the people who are homeless are mostly local people, or are we getting people from other towns or other states?
I get asked that a lot. The national average is that 75% of people who are homeless became homeless in the town in which they lived.
Okay.
Now, again, that's, for our community, while we try to capture that, it's all self-reported. Where did you come from? Here, I'm from here, when they might be from somewhere else. I do get on a monthly basis a person or two emailing or calling us and saying, I'm in Wisconsin. Do you have room at Camp Hope? My response is always, please access the services where you live. And if your community isn't providing those, let me have some numbers and I will talk to people about how to get some of the same services. So I really do, and like I said, I do a lot of consulting. Most communities are trying to address homelessness in their own communities. They're not trying to send people other places. They're like, we all have to figure this out. I also think that for every person that I serve that came from somewhere else, someone from Las Cruces went somewhere else to be homeless. Our funding is also, we're heavily HUD funded. I just finished my 7 grants with HUD in the last 2 weeks. That's federal monies. And the federal government has told me, I'm going to give you money to serve any person who presents at your doorstep. So it would, I just think about like, what would I do if I were going to prioritize people who were from Las Cruces? That would just leave a whole pocket of people still homeless in our community. So again, most people are homeless in the town in which they are from, but we are serving a lot of people from other places as well.
I saw on the news a while ago, maybe within last 3 weeks or so, in Los Angeles, where homeless, there are so many people living on the streets. They have literally made very small boxes, wooden boxes. And the people are just sleeping in there with their own sleeping bags and all, but there's a shelter kind of a thing. It's covered rather than a tent.
Awesome.
I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did not see that, but it sort of sounds like what we have at Camp Hope, where we have the wooden structures around the tents.
Okay.
Dave Rice?
Yes, Nicole, you were mentioning the Mano program and so on. What are there opportunities for people like one of us who wanted to volunteer at Community of Hope? And if there are those opportunities, again, is it a matter of calling the main number and saying, I want to volunteer and I can give you one morning a week or something? kind of a thing, or what's the story there?
Yeah, I think our agency, it's a little harder to volunteer just because we are a small day shelter. Really the only opportunities for that would be like our shower programs, so like handing out shampoos or conditioners. But I know that our partner agencies are much more conducive to having lots of volunteers, like El Caldito. The soup kitchen is always in need of volunteers. Same with Casa de Peregrinos, the food pantry. So they have a lot of people in that back pantry area. So a family comes in and they know how many cans of peas and corn to put into that shopping cart. So I think that, those are the agencies that really need a lot more assistance than my building of Community of Hope.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. That's
Dave,
helpful to know.
just to let you know, I volunteered at Casa de Peregrinos, and they have a variety of opportunities, everything from coming in and sorting out the food that they get, to passing it out to people who come to Casa de Peregrinos, to going out on the runs out into the outer part of the county, where they on a regular basis bring food to outlying areas. So I think when I was there, Teresa Sanchez was the volunteer coordinator. Nicole, is she still the volunteer coordinator? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I know a few of the Casa de Peregrinos staff, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, they'll get right back to you if you call Casa de Peregrinos, because they definitely need volunteers. Yeah.
Well, they don't take anyone older than, they don't take people over 80 years old. You
I
don't
think
have to
they'll
worry
take
about-
anybody, VJ, they'll take anybody who's capable of doing what they want done.
Hackett was told not to come there because he's old during
Really?
COVID.
Oh.
Yes, yes,
It
Okay.
was because of COVID.
yes, it was because of,
Because of COVID.
yeah.
Well, it's time to start getting those fake IDs out again. So,
I have a guy. I can.
okay, do we have any other questions or comments?
Dave,
Yeah, okay.
before we sign off, I want to make a quick announcement.
Okay, but we'll
Go ahead,
I'll
Charlie.
hold that to the end. I think we have a couple
Yeah.
more hands, Jack. Okay. Dave Rice, did you have another question?
No, just cheering Nicole on.
Okay,
Thanks,
all right,
Dave.
Charlie Welch. So I saw
Yeah.
your hand up.
You mentioned something about a bond, and I assumed that was with a city. And I hear you talking about hiring these people to work for the city, which is a win-win situation. Is there any way that you can work on the city to get more of that? I mean, for those of us who pay our taxes and we vote on bonds, if we knew that kind of thing was happening, I think it would be a big boost.
Yeah, the city is coming up with a bunch of media for that. So they're going to do a video that kind of talks about affordable housing and the need to support, get people voting for affordable housing. And it will be a whole package. So the Geo Bond, they prioritized a few things again for this year. So you will say, yes, I approve all of those things, and affordable housing is included in all of that. So we are just really hopeful that goes through. The people that are doing the Mano program are not, just to be clear, they're not hired by the city of Las Cruces. It's more affordable for the city to contract and give a grant to the Community of Hope
Oh,
to
there you go.
administer that program, and they do the day labor rather than them hiring their own city employees and paying pensions and all that good stuff. So again, it's not meant to necessarily be a sustainable wage, but again, a lot of our clients are on disability on Social Security. And if you get on disability this year, you're making $841 a month. So again, I told you that our cheapest rents we can find are $750. Doesn't leave you with a lot of money. So a lot of them come to do Mano y Mano and get paid by Community of Hope, who then gets reimbursed by the city of Las Cruces.
Great, thanks.
Okay, well, again, thank you very much, Nicole, and we'll let you get back to your family, and thank them for us for yeah, letting us take, some of your time away from them. And I want to thank the people who have been on this call. I'm sure that you all have already contributed, but it's not too late to make another contribution. I'm going to do just that. So go UUCLC for, backing, this program. So again, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Nicole.
Thank all of you.
Okay, Charlie, or Jack, what's your announcement? I have one as well, so.
Yeah, if you are not already aware, the Ken Burns program on the Holocaust will start tonight on KRWG at 7:00. And more than just about the Holocaust, it's about anti-Semitism in the U.S. historically, including today. It's about anti-immigrant attitudes in the U.S. historically and today. It's about the fragility of democracies and how they can be taken over. So I recommend that we tune in. It's from 7 to 9 each for the next 3 nights, and then it's repeated again from 9 to 11. So if you don't see it at 7, you can tune in anytime after that and see the entire program.
And you can record as well. So thanks for that announcement, Jack. Ken Burns always does such a wonderful job with his documentaries. So next week's roundtable I'm going to be the presenter next week. So I hope that isn't a turnoff to all of you, but it's the topic is the story behind StoryCorps. And what we will do is we will all watch together, fingers crossed with the technology stuff, a 20-minute TED Talk by Dave Isay, who is the originator, the founder of StoryCorps. And after we watch that program, we'll have an opportunity to have a roundtable discussion of the program, and perhaps even an opportunity to tell a story or two of our own. So I'm going to try to make it as interactive as possible. The TED Talk is just very, very, very inspirational. So I hope to see you all next week, and thank you for being there. And now Charlie and Dave Rice are going to stay on with me while I test out the technology.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye now.
Bye, Annetta. Okay.
She's not leaving.
Okay, this is the hard part. What I want to do is I'm going to want to test out the audio and visual quality of the TED Talk from YouTube, and there's always giving the variability of bandwidth and the machines that you all have at home and your own connectivity. There can be a little bit of slippage, but I just want to make sure that that the video quality and the audio quality is is acceptable, and it's not too annoying or distracting for if there's a little bit of a delay or what have you. And I want to see if I can remember how to share the video. So I can never remember whether you have to find the thing that you want to share first and then go to share screen, or if you do share screen first. I think you do share screen first.
Annetta, you're still on. You're muted.
But Annetta, you can stay if you'd like. Annetta, you're welcome. You can't hear you. You're muted. Just okay. Okay, so let's see. Share screen. No, okay, that's not it. can you see that?
No,
Okay, damn. Okay, well, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board one more time. So I'm glad I've got a week. I know I'm gonna be spending my week. So.
Okay,
Because I have it, I've got it here. And oops,
yeah, you're not getting your screen shared, at least with what you've got on there. They were, I believe, I don't know if it's service today, but they did have a new IT guy that was getting the orientation the other day at the church. So you might have some expert help. Maybe you've already resorted to that, and this is the failure of video 101 or something.
yeah. Okay, just a sec. I'm gonna try one more thing here. Nope. Do you see what's on the screen now?
just you.
Okay.
Dave, have you, I thought it was the other way around. I thought you had to bring up your item. And then when you go to share screen lets you select which of those
Well,
items you want.
That's what I thought. That's what I tried doing first. I'm gonna try it again.
okay.
So.
Okay, sorry.
Because right now I've got my share screen up, and what I see is Dave Rice.
Yeah.
Well, I've got mine on speaker view, and now, of course, I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm going to. Okay, there I've got the.
You might want to shut off the recording, which is still going on.
Oh yeah, thank you, Dave. Thank you. So.
That also may affect screen sharing for all I know.
Oops. Recording.